The human outpost on the far edge of explored space was usually a quiet place. It sat alone near a small blue star, watching empty space and sending reports back to Earth Command every 6 hours. Nothing exciting ever happened there. Most days felt the same. The crew joked that even space dust avoided this lonely place. But one morning, Earth Command noticed something strange. The usual report did not arrive. They waited a few minutes, thinking the delay was caused by a solar flare. Then they waited an hour. Still nothing. The communication room fell into deep silence as officers checked every channel again and again. All they heard was static. The outpost had 42 people. Engineers, scientists, and security staff. All trained. All disciplined. None of them would ever ignore a scheduled report. Commander Hale, a calm man with sharp eyes, ordered a direct connection attempt. They tried laser signals, encrypted signals, emergency codes. Everything failed. It was as if the entire outpost had suddenly disappeared. People in Earth Command started to worry. A missing signal was unusual, but a completely silent outpost was something far worse. Hale finally made the decision. A scout ship would be sent at once. The scout ship, Vigilant, launched with a small crew of 7. Their job was simple: reach the outpost, find the problem, bring everyone home. But the moment they dropped out of warp near the outpost, the entire crew felt a cold fear rise in their chests. The outpost looked wrong. Its lights were off. The large antenna tower had collapsed. Dark burn marks covered the metal hull. Pieces of the outer wall floated around like dead insects. The station did not look damaged, it looked attacked. The Vigilant moved closer. No movement. No signals. No life signs. Lieutenant Mara, the youngest on the team, whispered, "What happened here?" Her voice shook even though she tried to sound strong. The docking doors were broken, so the team entered through a breach in the hull. As they stepped inside, the beam from their helmets cut through the darkness, revealing shattered panels, broken screens, and deep claw-like marks along the walls. Something had torn through this place with force and purpose. But the strangest thing was the silence. Not even the faint hum of emergency power remained. The outpost was dead. The team moved through the hallways slowly. Every corner felt dangerous. Every shadow felt alive. They called out for survivors, but no voice answered. The air was cold and still, as if the station had been abandoned for years, not hours. Then they found the first sign. A long metal panel on the wall had deep scratches carved into it. Not random damage. Words. Someone had used a sharp tool to write a message. They came from the dark. No warning. Mara stepped back with fear. Who came? Aliens? Pirates? Commander Rourke, leader of the scout team, touched the scratches with his glove. Whoever they were, our people tried to warn us before they were gone. The team continued deeper. They found signs of energy blasts on the floor. They found overturned chairs, spilled food trays, and walls that looked melted from some unknown weapon. But they did not find a single body. Not one. The crew had simply vanished. This made everything worse. Something had taken the humans from the outpost without leaving a trace. Something quick. Something efficient. When they reached the command center, they found it destroyed. Screens cracked. Controls burned. The main console was smashed, as if someone wanted to ensure no information survived. But one small data pad lay on the floor. Rourke picked it up carefully. The screen flickered weakly, running on the last bit of stored battery. A single video file appeared. He pressed play. A shaky recording began. A frightened engineer was speaking into the camera. Behind him, alarms flashed red. They are boarding, we don't know who they are, they move fast, we tried to seal the doors but. A loud crash filled the audio. The man screamed. The camera fell. The recording ended. Everyone in the command center felt a chill. This was no accident. No technical failure. The outpost had been attacked by something unknown. Before they could process what they had seen, the Vigilance pilot spoke through the comms, his voice shaking. "Commander, you need to see this. We have movement outside." The scout team ran back to the entrance and looked out through the breach in the hull. In the dark space beyond, small shapes moved slowly. At first they thought it was debris, but then the shapes turned, deliberately, smoothly. They were not pieces of metal. They were ships. Small, silent, alien ships. And they were watching. One of the ships flashed a brief light. A signal. Or maybe a warning. Then more ships appeared from behind the dead outpost. 10. 20. Maybe more. All drifting closer. Mara whispered, "They're surrounding us." Commander Rourke knew they had only seconds before things went wrong. Everyone back to the Vigilant. Now. The team ran through the broken corridors. The outpost creaked around them as if it were alive. Rourke kept looking over his shoulder, feeling something unseen following them. They reached their ship and sealed the doors just as the alien ships began to move in a tight circle around them. The pilot powered up engines. "Commander, they're locking onto us." Rourke stared at the dark shapes on the screen. "Get us out." Full speed. The Vigilant shot away from the outpost, just as a bright beam flashed behind them. The unknown ships fired. If they had been 1 second slower, they would have been destroyed. As they jumped into warp, Mara finally spoke the thought everyone was silently thinking. "They killed our people, and now they're coming for us." Commander Rourke looked at the dark space behind them. "No," he said softly. "They're coming for Earth." Earth Command had expected bad news from the Vigilant, but nothing prepared them for the report they received. The silent outpost was not a mystery anymore. It was a warning. And that warning felt like a cold shadow spreading across the entire human race. The moment the Vigilant returned, Commander Rourke delivered his message. He stood in front of a large room filled with officers, scientists, and generals. No one spoke. No one moved. They only listened. "Unknown alien ships were present," Rourke said. "They stayed hidden until we arrived. They watched us. They fired at us. They destroyed our outpost with unknown weapons." The entire room went silent. One of the generals leaned forward. "Did they try to communicate?" Rourke shook his head. "No signals. No messages. No symbols. They only attacked." A heavy fear settled in the room. Humans had met alien species before, but none like this. This was different. This felt targeted. The scientists examined the recording from the damaged data pad. They enhanced the engineer's final message. They studied the burn marks, the weapon signatures, and the strange claw-like marks on the walls. Everything pointed to one thing. Whoever attacked the outpost was fast, intelligent, and extremely hostile. But Earth still had no name for them. No identity. No idea how many existed. That changed 2 days later. A deep space probe detected a pattern of signals not far from the destroyed outpost. The signals were not random. They sounded like communication bursts. Earth Command sent a stealth drone to follow them. What it discovered shocked everyone. There was a large ship hidden in a dark region of space. A massive alien vessel the size of a city, covered in sharp metal plates and glowing red symbols. It looked alive. It pulsed with energy like a beating heart. And it was releasing commands. Finally, Earth had a name for the enemy. The symbols translated to one word repeated again and again, Vorthak. A species never encountered before. A species that hid in dark regions of space, striking without warning. A species that believed weak civilizations deserved to vanish. The Vorthak had been watching humanity for years. The recordings from the Vorthak ship showed maps of human colonies, space routes, military bases, and even Earth itself. They had studied everything. They had waited. And when they finally struck, they chose the most isolated target first, the outpost. It was not an attack. It was a test. Earth Command held an emergency meeting. There was tension in every corner of the room. Officers whispered. Analysts worked. Commanders paced in silence. Finally, President Carter appeared on the screen. Her voice was calm but firm. We must understand their goals. We must try communication. Violence cannot be our first answer. Her words were reasonable. Logical. Human. But the Vorthak were not. A message arrived only 1 hour later. No voice. No form. Only a pulsing symbol on the screen, the Vorthak emblem, glowing red. Then a translated sentence appeared underneath it. You are expanding too far. Turn back or fall. The room went silent. No one breathed. The Vorthak had spoken clearly. Humanity was a threat to them. Not because humans attacked first, but because humans were growing stronger every year. President Carter tried diplomacy. She sent a peaceful message in return. We do not want war. We seek peace and understanding. The Vorthak answered by destroying the communication probe instantly. A single beam of red light erased it. There was no more room for doubt. The Vorthak did not want peace. They wanted control. That same evening, a small ship drifted into human territory. It had no power, no signal, no life signs. A rescue team brought it inside their hangar, thinking it was abandoned. When they opened the hatch, they found a survivor. A man from the destroyed outpost. Pale. Weak. Close to death. His breathing was slow. His eyes barely opened. Rourke stood beside him as medics tried to revive him. The man whispered only one sentence. They watched us first, they watched us for months. Rourke leaned closer. Who? Who watched you? The man's voice cracked. Vorthak, they tested us, they wanted to see if humans fight back. The medics tried to calm him, but he shook his head. They will not stop. They want to break us before we grow too strong. Then he looked directly into Rourke's eyes, as if trying to pass on something important. They think humans are dangerous. That is why they attacked first. And then he lost consciousness. Medics rushed him to life support. No one knew if he would survive. Now Earth Command understood everything. The Vorthak did not fear humans because of war. They feared humans because of potential. Humans were fast learners. Humans adapted. Humans spread to new worlds quickly. Humans built alliances. Humans grew strong. To the Vorthak, humanity was a future threat. And they wanted to destroy that threat early. Commander Rourke stood in the observation deck later that night. He watched the stars beyond the window. Somewhere out there, the Vorthak were preparing their next move. He whispered to himself, they think they know us. They think we're weak. He clenched his fists. But they are about to learn what humans truly do when cornered. The room behind him lit up as alarms suddenly blared. A signal from deep space. A Vorthak fleet, moving toward human territory. The second attack had begun. The Vorthak fleet moved like a dark tide across the stars. Silent. Precise. Deadly. Every ship kept perfect formation, as if guided by one mind. Earth Command watched their movement in real time, and fear spread through every room, every hallway, every officer. They were coming. But this time, humanity was not unprepared. After the destruction of the outpost, Earth had activated its emergency defense program. Fleets were moved. Bases were fortified. Satellites were armed. Humanity had spent years avoiding war, but now war had arrived at their doorstep. Commander Rourke stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, Sol's Hammer. The ship was massive, built with the strongest armor humans had ever created. It carried rail cannons, plasma arrays, drone swarms, and something far more secret, Project Titan, a weapon no human had ever used. Around Rourke, the crew worked quickly. Every screen flashed with tactical maps. Every officer spoke in sharp, tense tones. They all felt the same thing: a storm was coming. Enemy fleet approaching Sector 9, the navigator reported. How many ships? Rourke asked. 37 confirmed. Possibly more in the shadows. Vorthak always hide more than they show, Rourke said quietly. He turned to his second-in-command, Captain Arya Vale. She was calm, focused, and unshakable. Are the fleets ready? Yes, Commander, she replied. The Northern Fleet and Eastern Defense Wing are already in position. The Western Fleet is moving in behind the Saturn rings. They are forming a trap. Rourke nodded. Good. Let's see how the Vorthak respond when humans push back. But before the human fleets could engage, something unexpected happened. A strange energy wave rippled across space. It hit every human ship. Lights flickered. Engines slowed. Communications filled with static. Energy interference, a technician shouted. It's Vorthak technology, we've never seen anything like it. Rourke gripped the rail. Stabilize systems. Now. The ship shook again. Alarms blared. For a moment, it felt like the Vorthak could shut down the entire human fleet with one weapon. Panic spread. But Captain Arya quickly activated countermeasures. Deploy mirror shields. The shields lit up around Sol's Hammer like a glowing dome. The energy wave hit again, but this time the ship remained steady. Systems holding, Arya reported. But that was just a test. Rourke's eyes narrowed. They know we're ready. They're measuring us again. The Vorthak fleet finally came into view. Sharp metal ships shaped like black wings. Red patterns glowing across their hulls. They made no sound. They sent no message. They only approached slowly, confidently. And then they stopped. The Vorthak leader's ship moved forward. A massive vessel covered in spiked armor, larger than anything humans had ever seen. It looked like a predator rising from the deep ocean. Sir, the communications officer whispered, they're scanning us. Let them, Rourke said. Because we're scanning them too. Humanity had learned something important from the silent outpost. The Vorthak were not fearless, they were cautious. They never attacked without full information. They studied enemies. They watched reactions. They tested limits. Rourke planned to use that against them. He ordered the first move. Send the decoy drones. Hundreds of small metallic drones burst from the human fleet. They flew in strange patterns, changing speed and direction. Each drone carried false signals, making the human fleet appear much weaker and more scattered than it was. The Vorthak noticed instantly. One alien ship shifted closer to investigate. Then another. And another. They were falling for the trick. Suddenly, the Western fleet burst out from behind Saturn's rings, firing everything they had: plasma beams, ion bursts, rail cannon rounds. The space lit up with explosions. The trap had closed. Humans attacked first. The Vorthak ships reacted quickly, turning and firing with deadly accuracy. Their red beams cut through several drones and destroyed 2 human fighters instantly. But for the first time, the Vorthak were surprised. They had not expected humans to strike with such coordination and boldness. The battle exploded into chaos. On the bridge, Rourke stood firm. Target their lead ship. Arya shouted commands as the main cannons charged. The entire ship vibrated from the energy building inside its weapon core. Fire. A massive beam shot across space, striking the Vorthak leadership. The blast carved through its armor. For the first time, the Vorthak flagship staggered. Direct hit. Arya said. Rourke nodded. Again. But before they could fire again, something disturbing happened. The Vorthak ship began to glow. Its red symbols pulsed brighter and brighter. The other Vorthak ships slowly backed away, giving it space. What are they doing? A crew member whispered. A deep growl-like sound came from the alien ship. A sound humans had never heard before. Then a shockwave erupted from it. Every human ship in the vicinity shook violently. Screens shattered. Engines flickered. Crew members fell to the ground. Arya grabbed the railing. That wasn't a weapon. That was a signal. Rourke understood immediately. They're calling reinforcements. Sensors lit up. Dozens of new red signatures appeared on the far side of the battlefield. A second Vorthak fleet had arrived. Humanity was now outnumbered, 2-1. Rourke stared at the incoming ships. His voice dropped to a dark whisper. They want to test humanity. Fine. Let's show them what we really are. He turned to Arya. Prepare Project Titan. She hesitated. Commander, that weapon could destroy an entire world. Rourke's eyes were cold. And the Vorthak planned to destroy ours. The battlefield was turning into a nightmare of fire and darkness. Human ships and Vorthak ships moved like shadows through exploding light, each side striking with everything they had. But with the arrival of the second Vorthak fleet, the balance shifted sharply. Humanity was now fighting against a storm. On the bridge of Sol's Hammer, Commander Rourke stood with his hands tight on the railing. The ship shook again and again as enemy fire hit their shields. Sparks burst from an overloaded console. A medic dragged a wounded crew member away. The air smelled of smoke and fear. Captain Arya Vale looked at the screens. We're losing the eastern wing. Their entire formation is falling apart. Rourke didn't flinch. Order them to retreat behind the moon of Titan. Have the northern fleet cover their escape. They won't hold long, Arya said softly. I know, he replied. The Vorthak ships were moving too perfectly, too intelligently. They weren't acting like individual pilots. They were acting like one connected mind. When one ship moved, the others shifted instantly. When one was damaged, another replaced it in the perfect position. It was not a fleet. It was a living machine. Human ships were brave, but they were scattered, overwhelmed, outnumbered. Every moment the Vorthak tightened their circle around Sol's Hammer. Then the sensors flashed another warning. A massive energy surge came from the Vorthak leadership, the same one that had released the shockwave earlier. Arya stared at the readings. This is different, stronger, something is charging. Rourke leaned over her shoulder. A superweapon? Maybe. Or something worse. The Vorthak leadership began to glow, brighter than before. Its red symbols pulsed like angry veins. Smaller Vorthak ships moved aside, making space around it. The energy rippled across their fleet, as if preparing them for something huge. Rourke knew humanity could not survive whatever that weapon was. He spoke the words no one wanted to hear. Activate Project Titan. The bridge fell silent. Some crew members froze. Others swallowed hard. Project Titan was more than a weapon. It was a planet breaker, something humanity had sworn never to use unless the entire species was at risk. And now they were. Arya looked at him with a mixture of fear and shock. Once we fire it, there is no going back. Rourke met her eyes. If we don't, the Vorthak will wipe out Earth. We have no choice. She closed her eyes for 1 second, then nodded. Activating Project Titan. Deep inside Sol's hammer, the Titan core hummed to life. It glowed with a cold blue light that seemed to cut through the ship. Engineers at the weapon base stared at it with fear. Even standing near it felt wrong, as if the energy didn't belong in this universe. The core began to spin. The lights dimmed. The ship trembled. Arya called out, charging at 30%. 40. 50. But before Titan could fully charge, a sudden alarm cut through the room. "Commander," shouted a technician, "you need to see this." A new signal appeared on the screen. It came from a damaged human rescue ship drifting on the far edge of the battlefield, the ship that carried the survivor from the outpost. Rourke frowned. "Patch it in." The screen flickered. The survivor appeared, weak but conscious. His face was pale. Wires and tubes covered him. His voice shook, but he forced himself to speak. "Commander, listen carefully." Rourke stepped closer. "We're listening." The survivor coughed, then continued. "The Vorthak, they're not attacking because they hate humans. They are afraid of humans." Arya stared. "Afraid?" "Yes," the man whispered. "Their scouts were watching us for years. They saw how fast humans grow, how fast we learn, how we adapt. They believe humans will become the strongest species in the galaxy." Rourke frowned. "So they want to destroy us before we rise?" The survivor nodded weakly. "To them, this is not war. This is survival. They are trying to remove the threat before humans become unstoppable." Rourke tightened his jaw. "That doesn't justify killing our people." "No," the survivor agreed. "But it explains why they will never negotiate. They will never stop. They believe the only safe universe is a universe without humans." The screen cut out suddenly. The message was clear. The Vorthak feared what humanity could become. Arya turned to Rourke. "If we fire Titan, we will destroy their homeworld. We will end them forever." Rourke didn't speak at first. He looked out at the battlefield, the burning ships, the dying soldiers, the endless dark. Humanity had always tried to be peaceful. But peace was not an option with an enemy that saw humans as a threat to existence. He finally spoke. "Prepare final charge." The core reached 90%. Then, without warning, the Vorthak leader's ship released its weapon. A beam of red energy tore across space, hitting Earth's northern fleet directly. Ships exploded like candles in a storm. Thousands of lives vanished in one terrible second. Arya covered her mouth. "We're running out of time." Rourke gave the final order. "Target the Vorthak homeworld." The Titan core roared. Light filled the ship. Space itself seemed to bend around the weapon. "Titan at full power." Arya shouted. Rourke lifted his hand. "Fire." The beam shot out like a star tearing through reality. And the Vorthak homeworld was about to face the wrath of humanity. The Titan beam tore through space like a newborn star. It was bright enough to blind sensors, powerful enough to shake every ship nearby. The crew of Sol's Hammer watched in silence as the beam stretched across the battlefield and hit its target, the Vorthak homeworld. For a moment, nothing happened. The planet hung in space like a dark marble, untouched, silent, alive. Then the surface cracked. A bright blue line appeared across the crust, thin at first, like a scratch. But it grew wider and brighter, splitting mountains, oceans, and continents. Energy poured into the planet's core, boiling everything from inside. Arya whispered, "My God." Another crack formed. Then another. The surface began to glow white as heat rose to impossible levels. Cities melted. Seas evaporated. Forests turned into dust. Within seconds, the entire planet was glowing like a dying sun. Commander Rourke stood still, his jaw tight. He had made the choice. He had ended an entire world. The bridge crew watched with both horror and relief. Their enemy was powerful, but now something stronger was destroying them. Aria's voice trembled. The Vorthak ships, they're shutting down. Across the battlefield, the alien fleet trembled. Their red symbols dimmed. Their engines flickered out. One by one, their ships stopped firing, stopped moving, stopped living. They floated in space like dead metal shells, their command network broken. Rourke took a deep breath. The Vorthak were connected to their homeworld. It was their center. Their mind. Arya nodded. Without it, they're lost. For the first time since the war began, the battlefield became silent. The Titan beam faded. The stars returned. The blackness of space swallowed the last light of the destroyed planet. All that remained of the Vorthak world was a cloud of ash and glowing fragments. The bridge stayed quiet for a long moment. The crew didn't cheer. They didn't smile. They only watched. They had won, but the weight of victory was heavy. A young officer broke the silence. "Commander, we're receiving a signal." Rourke snapped his head toward her. "From where?" She pointed at the screen. "Every direction. It's a broadcast across all channels." Arya frowned. "From who?" "The Vorthak are gone." "No," the officer said. "Not them." The signal grew stronger. Rourke opened it. A calm voice spoke across every speaker, every ship, every human outpost. "Humanity, here's the call of war. Humanity, answers. Humanity, does not start battles. But humanity, ends them." It was Earth Command broadcasting a message to the entire galaxy. A warning. A declaration. A line drawn in the stars. And the galaxy was listening. After the broadcast ended, the crew slowly returned to their stations. The wounded were tended to. The fires were put out. The dead were honored. But no one on Sol's Hammer forgot the moment they watched a planet disappear. Hours later, as the human fleets regrouped, Arya walked to Rourke. "It's over," she said quietly. Rourke looked at the drifting Vorthak ships. "For now." "You think there are more?" she asked. Rourke nodded. "The Vorthak hid in the dark for years. They tested us. They studied us. A species like that never acts alone. They must have had allies. Observers. Someone else watching from even deeper space." Arya sighed. "You think they'll come for us?" "They will," he said. "Because destroying a planet sends a message. A strong message. But strength attracts attention. And enemies." As if the universe wanted to answer him, the sensors beeped. "Commander," a technician called, "we're detecting something." Rourke turned. "Define something." The technician swallowed. "Unknown ships, large, 5 of them, no matching signatures in any database. They're outside the battlefield, watching from long range." Arya stiffened. "Are they Vorthak?" "No, Captain," the technician whispered. "There's something else." Rourke studied the shapes on the screen. They were unusual, smooth, curved ships that reflected almost no light. They hovered silently at the edge of the star system, as if deciding whether to approach or retreat. "Are they scanning us?" he asked. "Yes, sir, but not like the Vorthak. More careful." Arya stepped closer. They watched the battle. Rourke nodded slowly. "And now they're judging us." One of the unknown ships pulsed with a soft white glow. It was not a threat. Not a weapon. It almost looked like a greeting. Then the ships vanished. Not jumped. Not warped. They simply disappeared, leaving no trace, no energy trail, no signal, nothing. Arya stared at the empty screen. So, what does that mean? Rourke folded his arms. It means the galaxy is bigger than we thought. And far more dangerous. He walked to the window and looked at the stars. Today, humanity destroyed a world, he said softly. Tomorrow, someone else may decide they don't like that. Arya stepped beside him. So what do we do? Rourke smiled faintly, a tired but determined smile. We prepare. We build. We grow stronger. Because this battle wasn't the end. He looked out at the endless dark. It was the beginning.